All right, diving right in today. Buckle up, because we're going to unpack some seriously heavy stuff. Stuff that hits us, well, right in the feels. We're talking about betrayal.
Yeah, betrayal.
Hmm.
And not just any betrayal, but the kind that cuts the deepest. The kind that you experience when you're someone who, at their core, values loyalty above almost everything else.
If you're here with us today, chances are you know exactly what we're talking about. Maybe you even lived it.
And if you have, then you know this isn't some surface level scratch. This is the kind of wound that can leave you questioning everything.
That's what we're here to do in this deep dive. Trying to figure out why betrayal hits loyal people so much harder. And honestly, maybe even find some ways to start healing from it.
Because it really is unique, this kind of pain. It's not just about the relationship itself getting messed up, it shakes your whole sense of who you are. We want to understand why that happens. Why does it resonate so deeply when someone we trust betrays that trust? And how do we even begin to move through something so heavy?
Yeah, totally. You know, to really get into this, I want to share something that happened to me, and I think it illustrates this whole thing perfectly. So I had this friend, Sarah. We were super close, like years of friendship, and I was always there for her, always her biggest supporter, always had her back. But then, well, I found out she'd been talking about me behind my back, spreading rumors and just saying some seriously messed up stuff.
Oof, I can only imagine how that felt.
It was a total shock. Like the whole foundation of our friendship just vanished. And what made it even worse, when I tried to talk to her about it, not even in an angry way, just trying to understand, she brushed it off like it was no big deal.
Wow. That's tough. You're trying to have this serious conversation, and it's like you're speaking different languages.
Exactly. And it's that disconnect that brings us to the big question we want to explore today. Why does betrayal, especially for those of us who really prioritize being loyal, why does it hurt so damn much?
Well, let's break it down. First off, I think we have to understand that for truly loyal people, loyalty isn't just some action they take. It's like woven into who they are. It's a core part of their identity.
Right. So when someone betrays them, it's not just a broken promise. It feels like this huge rejection of who they are as a person.
Exactly. Like, if being reliable and trustworthy is how you see yourself, then being betrayed feels like a direct attack on that. Almost like someone is questioning the very core of who you are.
And what's interesting is that this whole idea of loyalty being central to how you see yourself, it then affects how you see all your relationships. You kind of assume that others have that same basic idea of integrity.
Yeah, you go into relationships, whether it's love, friendship, family, assuming that everyone's on the same page about this stuff, that they have that same level of commitment.
So then when betrayal happens, it's not just a letdown, it's this total blindside. It shatters your whole understanding of that person and their relationship, like at the most basic level.
And we can't forget the level of investment loyal people often make in their relationships. They go all in. They offer support without holding back. So when that trust is broken, it becomes intensely personal.
Right. It's like you've poured so much of yourself into building something, and then someone comes along and just wrecks it. It leaves this huge empty space.
Absolutely. And another thing that makes this so hard for loyal people is they often can't even fathom doing that to someone else.
It's like because betraying someone goes against everything they believe in, they struggle to understand how someone could do it to them.
Yeah, it creates this empathy gap, but in reverse. They're operating from this place of wanting to protect and support. So betrayal is just so alien to them that they can't process it.
Which can lead to them blaming themselves, trying to make sense of something that just doesn't make sense to them. It's so confusing.
It really is. And it takes us to this uncomfortable but necessary question. Why do people betray others in the first place? It's tempting to just label them as bad people, but it's more complex than that.
It is. So what are some of the reasons we see out there?
Well, a big one is, honestly, self-interest. Many people, even those close to us, will prioritize their own needs, even if it means hurting others.
Right. It's not always coming from a mean place, but when what they want clashes with your well-being or the relationship, their needs can win out.
Think about it. Gossiping to fit in with a certain group. Cheating because of a desire for excitement. Undermining a colleague to get ahead at work.
Yeah, we've all seen those things happen, and it's a hard pill to swallow, realizing that your loyalty just doesn't factor into their decisions sometimes.
And sometimes it's not even intentional malice. It's more like when someone is consistently loyal, that loyalty can be taken for granted. The betrayer gets complacent, expecting that loyalty no matter what they do.
They figure, oh, they'll get over it. They always forgive me. And that assumption that your loyalty is unlimited makes betrayal seem less risky to them.
It's sad, but true. And then there are those who just don't have that strong internal compass that guides them to make moral choices, you know? Like the same way a loyal person does.
They might betray without even feeling bad about it.
Exactly. Which can be so hard to wrap your head around if you're someone who values empathy and fairness. It's like they're playing by a whole different set of rules.
And you know what else is tough? Some people betray knowing that loyal people are more likely to forgive them. It becomes this pattern of pushing boundaries, and the betrayal continues until there's a hard stop.
Which is why it's so important to recognize the warning signs. We can't predict the future, but there are things to look out for.
So what are some red flags that someone might be capable of betrayal?
One of the biggest ones. If they're constantly talking bad about other people behind their backs. You know the saying, if they'll gossip with you, they'll gossip about you.
Totally. If they don't respect other people's privacy and loyalty, why would they treat you any differently?
Another big one. They're inconsistent with their support, especially if they tend to disappear when things get tough for you.
Real loyalty isn't about fair weather friendship. It's about being there when someone truly needs you, through thick and thin.
And, as hard as it can be to face, pay attention to their past behavior. If they have a history of betraying trust in other relationships, it's a pretty good indicator of how they might act in the future.
It's not a guarantee, but it's definitely something to consider. And you know what else? Pay attention to how they react to your feelings. If they dismiss or downplay how their actions hurt you, that's a huge red flag.
Lack of empathy is never a good sign in any close relationship. And then, of course, there's the most obvious one. Secrecy and lying. Trust is the foundation of loyalty, so if that's missing, it's a bad sign.
If you're constantly catching them in lies or feeling like they're hiding things from you, trust your gut. Something's probably off.
Exactly. Pay attention to those patterns of behavior. Don't ignore your instincts.
So we've talked about the pain of betrayal, why it happens, and some red flags. Now the big question, how do we heal from this?
It's a journey, and it's not always easy. But the first step, and this is crucial, is to stop questioning your own worth.
It's so easy to fall into that trap thinking, what did I do wrong? Or wasn't I good enough for them to be loyal? But that's not the issue.
Remember, their betrayal is about them and their choices, not about your value as a person. You are worthy of trust and respect, regardless of what they did.
That self-compassion is so important. And along with that, learning to set strong boundaries. As loyal people, we give so much of ourselves, but we need to make sure we're giving it to people who deserve it.
Protecting your trust is key. And sometimes that means walking away from relationships that have become toxic. Loyalty is a gift, not an obligation.
It's okay to say no. It's okay to protect yourself. And this one can be tough, but letting go of the need for closure from the person who betrayed you is huge.
We crave that apology, that explanation, that acknowledgement of the pain they caused. But sometimes you just won't get it.
And waiting for it just keeps you stuck in the past. Real closure comes from within, from accepting what happened, processing your emotions, and deciding to move on.
It's about taking back your power. And one more thing that can really help with healing. Surround yourself with people who genuinely value you and show their loyalty consistently.
Betrayal can make you question everyone, but remember, true loyalty does exist. Focus on building relationships with people who prove their trustworthiness through their actions.
Those connections can be incredibly healing. They help you rebuild trust and believe in the goodness of people again.
So to wrap things up, if you've experienced the pain of betrayal, know that you are not alone. So many of us, especially those who value loyalty, have been there.
And while it hurts like hell, it can also be an opportunity for growth. You can learn to set better boundaries, become more discerning in your relationships, and understand your own worth even more deeply.
It's about learning from the hurt, not letting it define you. Be kind to yourself, set those boundaries, and keep your heart open, but be smart about who you let in.
As you move forward, remember this. True loyalty starts with being loyal to yourself. People who genuinely value you will respect that.
That's a great point to end on. If any of this resonated with you, if you have your own story of betrayal and healing, we'd love to hear it. Share your thoughts in the comments or send us a direct message. Sharing can be a powerful part of the healing process.
And remember, even though betrayal can hurt so much, true loyalty does exist. It's a precious thing, both to give and to receive.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.